That Bob Barker with my style. Money, stay on my craft and stick around for those pounds. But I do that to pass the torch and put on for my town. Trust me, I'm my INDEPENDENT shit hustling. Chasing dreams since I was 14 with the 4-track busting. Halfway across that city with the back crush shit. Labels out here, now they can't tell me nothing. We give that to the people, spread it across the country. Labels out here, now they can't tell me nothing. We give it to the people, spread it across the country.
Here we go back, this is the moment. Tonight is the night, we'll fight till it's over. So we put our hands up like the ceiling can't hold us. Like the ceiling can't hold us. Here we go back, this is the moment. Tonight is the night, we'll fight till it's over. So we put our hands up like the ceiling can't hold us. Like the ceiling can't hold us.
Now, can I kick it? Thank you. Yeah, I'm so damn grateful. I grew up really wanna go fronts, but that's what you get when Wu-Tang raised you. Y'all can't stop me. Go hard like I got an 808 in my heartbeat. And I'm eating at the beat like it gave a little speed to a great white shark on shark week. Raw, time to go off, gone. Deuces goodbye. I got a world to see. And my girl, she wanna see Rome. Caesar make you a believer. Nah, I never ever did it for a throne. That validation comes from giving it back to the people. Now, sing this song and it goes like, raise those hands, this is our party. We came here to live life like nobody was watching. I got my city right behind me. If I fall, they got me. Learn from that failure, gain humility, and then we keep marching.
And we go back, this is the moment. Tonight is the night, we'll fight till it's over. So we put our hands up like the ceiling can't hold us. Like the ceiling can't hold us. Go back, this is the moment. Tonight is the night, we'll fight till it's over. So we put our hands up like the ceiling can't hold us. Like the ceiling can't hold us.
So we put our hands up. So we put our hands up.
And all my people say, that's right. And all my people say, that's all right. And all my people say, let the night come before the fight's won. Some might run against the test, but those that triumph embrace the fight, cause the fears that prove that courage exists. Come on, now let the
Good evening and welcome everybody to our tools and techniques session tonight. Our special welcome to our guest speaker tonight, Amine Mokhtar, all the way from Algeria. Our topic tonight is from predictive to agile, navigating the project management spectrum. You'll find quite a bit of common words and approaches, according to me. Anyway, before I introduce Amine, some rules. Please stay on mute unless clear to talk. Switch off your video. Only the presenter's video is allowed. The presentation will be about 45 to 50 minutes long. Post your questions in the main chat. We'll do it at the end when it's time for Q&A, or put it in the actual chat. We'll keep an eye on that too. Presentations will be uploaded to the YouTube channel of IIBA South Africa. You can find it on that link. We do not share the presentation deck. To become a member of IIBA South Africa, and IIBA, please visit the IIBA.org Business Analysis membership link. For our next event, visit our website, the chapter website. You can also follow us on LinkedIn and on Facebook. Should you wish to share your expertise, your knowledge, your insights with us in the future, please contact us on professionaldevelopment@southafrica.iiba.org. A bit more about Amine. He's an accomplished project management consultant, PMO specialist, and certified trainer with over 18 years of experience delivering results across 40 plus EPC projects in 6 industries and 6 countries on 3 continents. This is experience from around the world. He holds a civil engineering degree, an MBA in project management, and other certifications include PMP, PMI, ACP, PMI, RMP, PMOCP, and certified trainer. Amine brings deep technical knowledge and strategic insight to every engagement. He transforms complex business challenges into growth opportunities by combining operational excellence with impactful knowledge delivery. Amine, very welcome, and we look forward to see and hear what you have got
Thanks a lot,
to
Liana.
share with us tonight.
I hope
If
you
you
will
wish
like
to,
it, and everyone will like it. Yeah.
if you wish to start sharing your screen, it's over to you.
Okay, and in between, I'd like to thank you, Liana, for this great presentation, and welcome everyone to this event. I believe you can see my screen now.
Yes.
Great. Okay. Great. So once again, thanks for this great presentation. Thank you, for receiving me. Thanks for everyone for being here. And I hope you will enjoy this presentation and this event as much as I'm doing right now. Okay, let's get started. Small disclaimer before I start. So since I know that most of you are business analysts or at least affiliated with the business analysis field, for me, I don't discriminate. For me, project management and business analysis, they go hand in hand. They are really complementary, and I hope that by the end of this session, you can also share the same opinion. Okay, so let's start with the objectives. Throughout this session, I'd like to have you guys reach 3 main objectives. There are others, obviously, but those 3 are the main, in my opinion. So the first one is to integrate some fundamental concepts in project management. We'll review some concepts that you might know, you might don't know, and this is meant to give us like a common background as far as project management is concerned. Second objective would be to define the most suitable approach to manage a project. This is really important, and this is really the core of this presentation and of this session for me, because the approach or the mindset or even the philosophy, I might say, that you decide to run your project based on is really, really important. So it's all about approach, it's all about perspective. And finally, I'd like you guys to elevate your project management through a business analysis perspective. As I said before, these are 2 complementary fields. They go hand in hand, and for me, they cannot exist without each other. Okay. So accordingly, the agenda today will be concept and definitions, just to start with. Then we'll speak about project in predictive mode. Then we'll go to the adaptive mode, Scrum framework, because Scrum is the most used framework within the adaptive mode, and we'll go into it with little detail. And we'll speak about projects in hybrid mode. And obviously, we'll finish with some Q&A section should you guys have any question or any clarification that you want to have. Okay, so without no further ado, let's start with the concept and definition. So the first question that might come to your mind is, what is a project? So by definition, a project is just a temporary effort or an endeavor that leads to a unique result, deliverable, or services, or maybe a combination of them. So it's temporary, it's effort, and by effort I mean that the organization would use its resources and it leads to a unique result at the end. So there are two types of projects, internal, external, based on the organization capacities. If the organization wants to carry on the project from beginning to end, then it would be the first case. Otherwise, it's an external one. So moving on, what's the purpose of a project? There are many ones, but mainly it's driving change within an organization and it's also creating business value. And here by value, I mean it as a multidimensional concept. I'm not speaking only about money, not only about the pecuniary aspect of it, although it's very important, obviously. You cannot run businesses without money, but there are other aspects to the value notion, okay? So just put this in mind. We want to move from one state to another, and obviously the final state would be better than the previous one. Moving on, this is a nice, let's say, workflow that I like to use to explain the complementarity between business and projects. So it all starts by business needs, or what you like to call, guys, business requirements, which will then drive a change inside the organization, and it leads to business benefits. So how this is translated into reality on the field through projects, it is that the business needs will be transformed into scope, then the scope will run into a process again, which will produce deliverables, and those deliverables are aligned with the business benefits. So this is this sort of dynamic that I would like to share with you today, and all of this is called or referred to as engagement project management, which answers basically to four questions: what, why, as far as business is concerned, how and when, as far as project is concerned. So this dynamic is really, really important within an organization if you really want to have success, if you really want to generate and sustain value within this organization. Okay, what's an operation? As you know, you cannot do only unique things within your organization. So at a certain time, you would have to, let's say, continuously repeat the production of the goods or of the deliverables, depending on the project, of course. So when the work is recurring and without no defined end, this is what we call an operation. So the way you generate value within an organization would be through either project, either operations, or both, a combination of both, as we will see later on. Okay. So another way to make the difference between a project and an operation would be to take a product life cycle. As we know, it has 5 phases. So if I have, let's say, to project myself here or to superpose where the project is and where the operation is, it will be like this. So as soon as you end your development phase, your project ends because you're going through an operation phase where you are going to repeat the same deliverable over and over again. So this is how a project might differ from an operation. At least this is a simple way to look at it. Okay. How projects and or operation are managed within an organization is very simple. You can find other old charts, but I like to use this one because it's quite simplifying the aspect of it. So it starts all from the bottom, like with projects and operations. Then if you go one layer above, it will be program, which is when you gather projects and operations. Then you have the portfolio layer, which is a gathering of programs, projects, and operations. And everything obviously has to align with the strategy or the vision of the organization. And obviously, you need to share resources, and you have many stakeholders that are involved in this organization. So it's really important for you guys, or as per my opinion, to place yourself where you are playing within your organization, so that you can bring as maximum value as needed in your goal. Okay, what's project management? So it's just the application of knowledge, skills, technique to project activities to meet your project requirements or your project objectives. It's really, really as simple as that. There is no complications. I like to make it simple, but for me, overall, I would say it's impact analysis versus decision making. So that's mainly what project managers are doing, let's say, 95% of the time. So it involves rationale, it involves data, and it involves also some skills related to the decision, like we will see later on. Who is the project manager? Obviously, the project manager is the person who is responsible to lead the project. He's assigned formally by the organization to attain the objectives. So the main, let's say, challenge for project managers, I would say, is to balance between the constraints and the resources availability within the organization. And really the best way to, let's say, describe a project manager role by analogy for me, it would be through a maestro position. So where you have to play a symphony and you have to make it happen and you have to make it work within the orchestra. Okay. What are the skills that are required from a project manager? If we have to speak about this, I like to use this concept of the triangle skills that is provided by PMI, Project Management Institute. So you might find that you need other skills, but basically those three are the most important ones. So business acumen would be really important because a project manager should not only manage their project, but they should also see that project within the organization, how they can bring value, how their project is contributing to the business in an organization. So this is a really, really important skill that a modern project management should have. Moving on, obviously you have ways of working. We will speak about that later. A project manager should be flexible enough to adapt to any situation that might face them and the project team within a project. And finally, you have the power skills, or what we call soft skills. You need them. There is no way you can manage a team now without these power skills, and actually they are very, very important. So it's just a kind of balance to be found between these three aspects. So you need to maintain your triangle as balanced as possible within your project. Okay, project environment. So the project, the organization, the people, they are all evolving within the environment. So this environment is getting influenced by two main factors. There is what we call the EFs, or the enterprise environmental factors. They can be internal or external, as you can see. You have also what is called OPAs, operational process assets, which arise from the organization in itself. It's a set of processes, policies, and also the knowledge database of that organization. So usually it's very, very important. So you should focus not only on the internal, on the external, but also on the OPAs as well. So all of these are really, really important aspects, and you need to take care of and to consider them while moving within the organization and if you want to reach your objectives. Okay. Finally, our last definition would be what's a project life cycle. So basically, it's a development approach. It's how you imagine your project. It's the series of, let's say, phases that the projects go through from its start to its completion. And it's basically a framework that applies regardless any specification that is involved. Okay, there are three types: predictive, adaptive, and hybrid. We will go slightly through all these types today, and I hope that by the end of this session, you will be able to differentiate between each approach, and you will be able, let's say, to apply it. Why not in your project in general? Okay. Now we'll start with the first approach, what we call predictive mode. So what is predictive mode? So it's basically a way of looking or of considering your projects. In predictive, you have to take consideration of the fact that the scope, the schedule, and the cost are determined and planned during the early phases of the project. And changes are, let's say that we don't like changes within a project in a predictive mode, or let's say that we want to control them as much as possible. So it's really, really important. It's quite rigid as an approach, in my opinion, but some projects are predicted by essence. So there's no way you can escape it. So what's really important in a predictive framework? There are two aspects: process groups, knowledge areas. So by analogy, you have the BA book, there is the PM book as well, where knowledge areas are there. Process group, we'll just get to see how to consider them. So regarding process groups, let's say that your project has a timeline, because remember we said that the project is defined in time, it has a beginning and an end, and it leads to a unique result. So it's basically how you would break this timeline into several phases, like you have initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, closing. Some like to mix executing and monitoring. Some might not like it. It depends. It's just your choice. And to those phases, I'd like to add two more, let's say, milestones. The first one is what I call pre-project work. It might involve feasibility study, it might involve benefit management plan, it might involve business case. And as you can notice, business analysis is really, really important in this phase. And actually, business analysis is important throughout all the phases, if you want my opinion. And obviously, you have the post-project work where either you switch into project mode or you hand over the deliverable or you go through maintenance mode, depending. So it's really important for you guys to understand how to carry on the project within each phase. Knowledge areas is just basically what you need to think of while carrying out your project. So it's integration, it's scope, schedule, cost, quality. It's a series. Let's say that this is an exhaustive list. And I would say that you should at least take a look to each and every one of these aspects before running your project, because I believe they are really, really important. So how does it work? On one side, we have the knowledge areas. On the other side, we have what we call the process groups. So basically, this is how I like to imagine it. It's just a sort of dashboard that I create to show how a project might evolve through a predictive framework. So in reality, this is how it is. So as you can see, the planning, executing, and monitoring phases are, like, say, the most important one, or they are the phases where the most of the work are done, but it doesn't mean that you should ignore the other ones. Among the most important things that you need to take care of, like, for example, during the initiating phase, it's the business case, the project charter. During the planning, your project management plan would be the compass of your project. It's really, really important to develop it and to create it. During the execution part, you start acquiring resources. During the monitoring and controlling part, you start assigning resources. For example, as well, during the closing part, you hand over the project, you think about lessons learned, etc., etc. So another way to see or to show you guys how both project management and business analysis work hand in hand through this kind of process is through this slide, for example. So as I told you at the beginning, for me, they go complementary. I cannot separate them. So it's really important. While project managers should think, for example, during the initiating phase on high-level project plan, the business analyst can help with identifying the business needs. They can help with stakeholder identifications as well. So it's really important. For example, in the executing, usually the project team would always think about the budget, schedule, the team, how to keep up with the plan, while the business analyst can help to see whether the project is still aligned with the business goals and the project requirements are met, or even if new project requirements need to be considered. So it's really, really important to have both aspects within a project. That's at least my opinion. Okay. So moving on, let's speak about the adaptive mode. So what is adaptive mode? It's basically what we call an agile life cycle. It's another framework. It's another way to see your project. Adaptive project mode was created for projects that were evolving within a rapid environment, a very high pace environment with a lot of changes. So within this framework, you should accept change. You should embrace it. Whereas it was the contrary for the predictive mode. So it's just a progressive elaboration. It's iterative and incremental, as we will speak about it later on. So it's really adapting to the situation, to the environment, and being very, very flexible. So how does it work? Let's get back to the project timeline. Remember earlier we had the predictive, we had phase-wise, and by the way, this is why it is called waterfall mode, because phase by phase it looks like a waterfall. So in the predictive framework, we have each phase along, and after the end of each phase, the other one would begin, and so forth. However, in the predictive mode, the project is divided into, let's say, small projects, and the value is delivered at the end of each small project, or at the end of what we call each sprint. Whereas in the predictive mode, the value is more or less delivered at the end. In predictive, it's rapidly changing, remember. So we want to generate as much value as early as possible. So it's really, really important. And the way you cope with this change as well is that you learn from each sprint and you integrate the feedback and the inputs into the other one. So there is an empiric aspect to it, but it is how it is. You learn as you progress, you learn as it goes. So it's really, really important to adapt, and it's really, really important again to generate value. Okay, another way to look at it is progress wise. Whereas in predictive, for example, your progress goes phase by phase. In the adaptive, it's like you're hitting all the phases at time. For each sprint, you're completing a chunk of all the phases at the same time. If we have to compare between both, again, in the predictive, all the difficult decisions are planned or are thought of at the beginning. The risk also is higher at the beginning, and as time goes on, it is supposed to increase. And obviously, you're delivering value at the end, like in one big bang. However, in the adaptive framework, your risk and your decisions are meant to, let's say, to be used within each sprint. So you cannot decide for everything long in advance, and you deliver value through each sprint. And usually the goal is met earlier if you have to compare it to predictive mode, because in any case, adaptive projects is for projects that have relatively a short time life or a short life cycle. A purely adaptive project, a purely agile project would take from 6 months to 1 year maximum, whereas the predictive projects can take you many months, years sometimes. So it's really, really important to place yourself and to know where you are playing. Okay. Scrum framework, as I said earlier, while we are speaking about Scrum, is the fact that Scrum framework is the most used approach within Agile. There are other frameworks, but Scrum, I believe, 65 to 70% of the projects using Agile approach are using Scrum framework because it's really flexible and it adapts a lot to what the organizations want to achieve. So basically, it's again an iterative framework. Um, it focuses on delivering the highest value as early as possible. Scrum is built by by collective intelligence, which means that it is there just to give, let's say, a framework to people, and the teams and each team player has to take their responsibility to produce value, as we will see later on. So basically, Scrum is composed of three pillars. We have the first one, which is transparency. So the outcome of the work should be visible all the time, which means that you should trust your team, and you should trust your organization. You have the inspection. The team members frequently inspect the progress, and obviously you have the adaptation. Remember, it's all about change and adaptation. So you need to optimize the product in real time as you encounter any kind of situation or as the context might change. So if you have to break up those pillars, the transparency is ensured through what we call Scrum artifacts. The inspection is done through the Scrum ceremonies or the events. And finally, the adaptation is ensured by the roles or the team members that are really carrying on the project. So let's start with the team members because this approach is all about people. Huh? Okay. Product owner would be the first one. So what product owners do is that they translate the product vision into an actionable plan. So they are responsible for prioritizing the backlog and obviously maximizing the value delivery. So if I have to make an analogy, I would say that a business analyst role is really close to a product owner role. And actually, experience-wise, most of the product owners I know, they are either business analysts or they have business analysis background. So it's really, really important to translate the strategy, the vision, and to transform it into a plan that should be followed by the team. Secondly, we have the Scrum Master. So the part of the Scrum Master is that a Scrum Master is by definition a servant leader. He or she is there for the others, to serve the others. They can serve as coaches, they can be trainers, they are there to support the team, and they are there mainly to remove impediments. And finally, we have the developers or the technical team. Why are they called developers? Because Agile was initially created for software industry and by people who were working in software industry. And as time went by, it got adopted by other industries. So I just kept the same semantics for the sake of being correct. So it's a cross-functional member. It's composed of cross-functional members, 3 to 9 people is the optimal number. Otherwise, if you exceed 9 people, you might need to have many teams at once, and you might need to have many team leaders. The thing is that you can manage up to 9 people as a responsible or as a project manager. Otherwise, it goes everywhere, and you lose track of the project. So they are there to plan, to adapt, and they hold each other responsible, and they are there mainly to deliver a usable increment. An increment is part of the artifact, so it's basically the value that you are generating at the end of each sprint. Okay, so moving on, we'll go to the Scrum events. So basically, the sprint, which is the quintessence of an agile approach, is just a fixed length event where the work is completed to turn IPs into value. Remember, the notion of value is very important. So it's basically 2 to 4 weeks duration, and it contains all the events. So after each sprint is finished, the other one starts, basically. We have what we call the sprint planning. Usually it takes 1 day, 8 hours. So it's just initiating the sprint by choosing or laying out the work to be performed during the sprint. Okay, so we choose the portion of the work that is going to be performed during the sprint. So the developers are responsible for planning each item, and the team plan and completes the work together. We have the daily scrum, or what we call also stand-up meeting. So it's very short, 15 minutes. It's just to inspect the daily progress that is done. So basically, the developers and the scrum master, they gather, and 3 questions are asked. What was done yesterday? What will be done today? Are there any impediments? If there are any impediments, then the scrum master would have the responsibility to remove them so that the developers would focus only on their work. Okay. The sprint review is just to demonstrate the sprint progress. This is where the team basically is receiving the client or the stakeholder to attest whether the value is, or whether the product or the increment is really valuable to the project or no. So you can expect there to have feedback. You can expect there to have modifications. So it is a really, really important event, and it takes maximum half a day usually. And finally, we have what is called let me move this. Okay, the sprint retrospective basically takes 3 hours. It's just to allow the team to reflect on what went good and what went wrong during the sprint. Because remember, we are moving rapidly. We need to adapt, so not all the things are going as smoothly as we plan for them. So it's really, really important to have this kind of event. The team decides who should attend. Obviously, there might be other stakeholders, there might be other persons from the organization. It's their choice, basically. So there's no blaming, and at the end, we should learn, and the input from that retrospective would be included in the next sprint and so forth. So it's really, really important to consider all these events. And by the same, let's say, definition, a business analyst can assist to each and every one of these ceremonies. So it's up to you guys. Okay, moving on. Scrum artifacts, we have what is called the product backlog. So basically, it's just a prioritized list of requirements maintained again, as we said earlier, by the product owner. And the product owner is called as we refer to them also the client's voice. So they are there to basically represent the client, to represent the vision of the project, and to see what are the requirements that should be taken at first so that you can generate most of the values. So the backlog is basically constituted of what we call story points. So story points is just a unit of measure, actually. There are ways to estimate how much story point or to convert your requirements into story points. It's basically workshops, and they are very fun to attend. And yeah, now we have the sprint backlog. During the sprint backlog, the team and or the developers will choose what portion of the product backlog is going to be, let's say, taken during the sprint. And usually they are there to produce the increments. So it's just a chunk of the product backlog. And remember, the product backlog is constantly prioritized and reprioritized. as we move on because changes may occur and we have to adapt properly. And finally, the most important Scrum artifact is the increment. It's basically the product. It's basically what you are going to deliver at the end of each sprint. These are the items that are completed after each sprint. So the client would decide whether the increment or whether what you have achieved during the sprint has value or not. If it's not valuable, then you have to take it into consideration in the next sprint and so forth. So these are the most important artifacts. So basically, in a nutshell, so it starts by inputs from the stakeholders. Then the product owner would translate the requirements or the stakeholders, let's say, requirements into a backlog. Then you have the sprint planning, after which the team would choose the sprint backlog or the portion of the product backlog that should be running through the sprint. Then you have sprint 2 to 4 weeks, daily scrum every day. Then you have the sprint review, then the sprint retrospective at the end. So basically, in a nutshell, this is how Scrum should look like. I just wanted to share this with you guys. It's basically one of the what we call information radiators. Remember at the beginning we said that we have to be transparent, and transparency is a pillar of Scrum. So this is just what we call a burn up or a burn down chart. So if you see to the left side, you can see that we have 2 weeks sprint duration, and you can see what is planned versus what is realized. So it is very important to be transparent because this kind of information radiator would be constantly shown, so everyone could see whether you're performing well or not. So this is why agile methodologies require a lot of trust and requires a lot of understanding. So whether you're ready to do that or not, it depends on you. It depends on your organization and other aspects. Actually, finally, let's speak about hybrid. So basically, what hybrid is the best of both worlds. So you take some of agile management and you take some of project management and you mix them, and let's say you end up with like a nice approach that is capitalizing on the strengths of each approach and mitigating the weaknesses of each, because it's really important. But the question remaining is how hybrid you should go. So it's really, really important to consider within an organization how hybrid you should go. Are you supposed to be leaning towards agile more? Are you supposed to be leaning towards predictive more, or are you supposed to be like in between? It depends on many factors. So among the factors that I like to consider, these are the main important ones for me. So usually during my approach as a consultant, I create a sort of scorecard out of these factors, and at the end, it tells me more or less how hybrid an organization is and how I should adapt my approach towards this organization. So it's really, really important. Obviously, it's not an exhaustive list, but I would say this is the most important one among them. Okay. So in reality, how it happens. So we use what's called layering concept, basically, and there is a horizontal and a vertical approach. So in the horizontal approach, both predictive and adaptive are used at the same time, whereas in the vertical approach, you kind of switch between predictive and adaptive at the time. So it depends. The choice is made by the organization, it is made by the project team, the project manager. Sometimes it's even strategic decision to be made. So the approach really is really, really important to create value within an organization. So there's an example of an horizontal approach. For example, as you can see, during each phase, you can have some sprints, and at the end, you deliver value. Whereas in the vertical approach, you have, let's say, to have two, let's say, teams like this that are evolving in parallel. So at a certain time, you go back on track for your project and you carry on. And this vertical approach I used like 2 years back with one of my clients, and it gave pretty much a good result, to be honest. The down point is that we had to use two teams that were working in parallel, but at the end, we could mitigate the things because we finished much earlier than expected. So it really depends. So as you move on, as you decide to consider your project, The most important thing is to deliver value, and the most important thing is to reach your objective. Okay, that was all for me, guys. So please, let's go through the Q&A questions, and if you have any questions or clarifications for me, then please go on. Hit me.
Uh, Thank you so much. I mean, that was really insightful. And I have a lot of value that I got personally from the session, but also a whole lot of questions going on in my mind, in my head. And we've had a couple of questions also here that we're going to just take one after the other. Thank you for keeping to time. It gives us enough time to engage and get more value. All right, I'm not going to take my question first. Let's start from the last, the bottom of the stack. We have a question that says, do you see a future where the roles of PM and BA are merged? And that is also the question that I've been asking as you elicit and expatiate on these roles. I see, the transition to product, ownership and product delivery management seem to be bringing together the role of business analyst and project manager. It's like asking a business analyst to do project manager management also. Um, and creating new roles with new names, within to capture that. What do you think about that? How would you bring the differences? Where do they converge? Where do the both roles diverge? And if you are a business analyst right now, what do you need to add onto yourself to be able to function in the role of a product owner? Thank you.
That's a really interesting question. I would say that overall the response is yes. I see both roles merging in the future, to be honest. The way projects and organizations and businesses are evolving right now, it requires really to
Mm,
have an extended and to have as a point of view as large as possible. So you need not only
mm,
to carry on your projects, but you need also to see how your project are playing the role within the business of your organization. And this is
mm,
where it merges. And as I pointed out during the presentation, we have this triangle skills and you have business acumen. So a modern, I would say, project manager should always think also of the business, should always have business
mm,
perspective within
mm,
their approach or within their project. So another aspect is now with the rise of AI, you have a lot of tools that allow you also to do business analysis. I'm not telling that AI will replace business analysts or project managers
mm,
as well. So you
mm,
have a lot of tools that allows both project managers and business analysts to do like simultaneously the task.
mm,
Project
mm,
manager can now use AI, for example, to have some analysis on, let's say, a schedule or anything like that. And
mm,
a business analyst could use as well AI tools to,
mm,
increase or to leverage their project management skills. So I
mm,
see it, to be honest with you. And there are fields where they are merging. As I told you, for example, when we speak about agile perspective or agile framework, this is
mm,
mainly, it was mainly done for the software industry. And in software and IT industry, you see a lot of product owners with business analysis background who are,
mm,
by the way, also carrying out projects. So they are also
mm,
doing project management. So I
mm,
believe, yeah, you should, there is no one size fits all, but I believe that you should take a little bit of both. And depending also on the importance of the project, you might
mm.
need project managers and business analysts working
Together,
hand in
hand in hand.
hand. But
Awesome.
I see it converging towards like merging a little bit of both, obviously.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amin. Which skill if we talk about the measure of the two roles, and the ability to bring value to a team, would you say that one role will surpass another? It means that would you be able to fit into the role of a PO, if you are a project manager, would you find it easy to transition compared to if you are a BA? And as a product owner, what roles, do you use most? Do you use project management, or do you use business analysis, or do you combine the both at 50-50 level? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I understood your question. It's a matter of balance because as the project moves on, you're facing different situations, and your team also is going through different situations. It
Okay.
develops. So I would say not 50-50. I would say you should find the right combination, the right proportions. Sometimes,
Mm,
usually at the beginning, when, for example, let's say you're a project manager and you just got a project that got handed over to you, and at the
mm,
beginning, you need more control, I would say,
mm,
over your
mm,
team, over the project, so that
mm,
nothing
mm.
would slip.
Sure, sure, sure.
Exactly. So in that case, for example, you would need more project management skills.
Mm, mm, mm,
After that,
mm,
as the project moves on, as you start producing deliverables, as
mm,
you start,
mm.
your team also
Managing.
use your way of management as you guys like face situation together, you might want to become more like a product owner, for
Yeah,
example,
yeah.
where you bring the vision more to the
Mm,
team.
mm.
The team know each other. They are really complementary with each other.
Awesome, awesome.
And you at that time or at that phase of the project, you might need more, let's say,
Mm,
business analyst skills. So it's
mm,
not
mm,
50-50 for me, I would say. It's just
mm.
it varies depending on the
Awesome.
context of the project, on the
On the
organization,
context.
on many others.
Oh,
So
thank you so much. That is so succinct. A couple of years back, I think that was 2019, I landed my first job as a business analyst, and I was so excited. But on that project, I could easily see that they were using the agile methodology, and I had the opportunity to learn to manage projects. And instead of going to do PMI, I opted for Scrum Master because I wanted to my thought was a Scrum Master is a project manager in a traditional context. So if you bring a
Okay.
project manager to an agile context, the project manager actually becomes the Scrum Master, right? So I just want to know, what is your view about that? Do you also, Tandazo asked that question and said, does the Scrum Master role replace the role of a PM in Agile Manager? What would you say about that?
I would say that the three roles are complementary. Like if you look at it from like if we take the predictive approach, which is what is also commonly called classic approach. So
Mm,
projects back then, they were really mainly focused on the project manager. So they were
mm,
like the top person and they were
mm,
carrying out the project. But
mm,
as the world has evolved, technology has evolved, I would
mm,
say you've got to have agile approaches because that classic approach was not fit anymore. So if
mm.
I have to compare, I would say that a project manager is at the same time a scrum master, a product owner, and I wouldn't say a development team because they might have the technical abilities,
Yeah.
but not all of the technical abilities. So that's
Mm,
why if you remember when we spoke about the triangle of skills, we said that the project manager should have power skill, should have
mm,
uh, flexibility, should have business acumen. So for
mm,
me, I take it as if a project manager role was split into, let's say, two main parts. I'm taking away the technical aspect of it. So
mm.
because now in project management or modern project management, you should not only have the business acumen or the business
Yeah.
perspective, but you should also have soft skills, you should have power
Mm,
skills,
mm.
and you should have that between all. So Scrum Master, project manager, no, I would say Scrum Master plus product owner plus maybe some technical aspects of the
Mm,
project.
mm,
So
mm,
that's how
mm,
my perception
mm,
of it.
mm.
Scrum
So
Master
it's
is
like
very
a
important.
slice. It's like a
Exactly.
slice of project manager.
Exactly.
It's not the
However, you
entire
have
bouquet.
exactly,
Mm,
but however, you have product managers that are more leaning towards like Scrum Masters rather than product owners,
mm,
or the opposite, for example. So
mm,
it really depends. But I see
mm,
it as a complementary, let's say, notion.
mm. Awesome. Thank you so much, Amin. Norm Tandazo, I hope that answers your question. I mean, I want to tie a question I posted a while ago to this question to the answer that you just gave. Um I am of the opinion I was comparing product delivery manager to product owner. Now the
Mm,
product delivery manager seem to be a more encapsulating or captures the role of a project manager more. It's like the term is just transferred to a product context instead of project, which is a
yeah,
project it can go on for, as long as possible. But when we talk about the product, it's like we're just taking it away from just project. We're taking the focus to like having the product that we actually started the project to achieve. So would you say that the role of a product delivery manager is akin to the role of a project manager?
can be. It can be. Again, it depends on the importance of the project because it started with the product owner. Then over the time, when things, evolved, when business evolved,
Mm,
and it shifted because initially, as I told, it was just uh, oriented towards the software development industry. And at that
yes.
time, software development industry,
Mm,
you could buy the software, right? You could read it, it
mm,
was tangible. You could go to the store,
mm,
pick it up. And I mean, for those who
yeah,
still remember,
yes.
but it became with time with technology, it became these or kind of organization. They became like service delivery
Mm, mm,
organization.
yes.
So you didn't have to buy anymore the product. You could just get it
Mm,
on the cloud or that's why you had product delivery manager. So it shifted a little bit. It's
mm,
just the way of
mm,
looking at it. Okay. But
mm,
in general, I wouldn't say that a product delivery manager is necessarily 100% a product manager. Although let's say
mm,
they are mainly focusing on the business aspect of things. They are there to attain their objectives, are there to align everything. They are there to make
mm,
sure that
mm,
the framework or the project is working within the organization to achieve the objectives. So it's just, let's say,
mm.
how things have evolved
Very.
over the years. So that's
Mm,
why, even like chronologically speaking, you start looking to the, if you look to the data or to the research, the product delivery manager, it's really you start seeing this kind of let's say designation starting
mm,
2010 2012 when really we got into the 2.0 internet era, for example. So
mm.
this is why it's just how things have evolved, by the way.
Mm, mm, mm. Thank you so much. I mean, it's so good to see the different variants, how a little slice of this is combined with a little slice of that, depending on the context and the need and the skills, taking just PM to like a context where the product is usable, business dynamics around the product and the life cycle of it, you know. But I think the most impressive thing for me here, which is a key takeaway, is the fact that the business analysis skills can be leveraged in different ways. I think that is what I've seen I'm taking away from, your presentation, that a business analyst is not a business analyst. You can metamorphosize, you can develop yourself or translate into different roles depending on what the needs are and whatever you need to add to yourself to be able to function within a context. We're going to take about two more questions before we go. We have a question that says, let me just scroll up and see that. Okay. If I'm missing your question, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions. Um, okay. How do PMs and BA jointly contribute to stakeholder management and
Ah,
requirement gathering?
very important. Actually, it has to become in the early stages of the project. It's more
Mm,
like a matter of chronology, I would say. In most
mm,
of the time, throughout my experience, whether when I was used to work in corporates or even after I started working as an independent consultant,
mm,
the mistake was that BAs would start the work, then once
mm,
the project handed over, they just take it and give it, or the organization, I should say, they give it to the PMs. Whereas normally, and in my opinion, they should work hand in hand from the beginning, whether the project is handed over or not, whether you got the project or not. because it's
mm,
a matter of collaboration.
mm,
There is no, usually they work in silos, whereas for me, I would always, let's say, recommend for the organization or my clients that I'm working with to mix them together. And they say,
mm,
well, one of the responses I got is that we didn't even get the project yet. So they say, yes, but the involvement is really, really important, starting
mm,
from, let's say, T minus, T0 minus, I don't know
mm,
what. So
mm,
it's really, really important. As far as the stakeholders are concerned, I would say that business analysts are really, really important in stakeholder identification. And stakeholder
mm,
identification happened during the initiating stage of a project. So it's really, really. So
mm,
business analysts bring more rationale to that. They bring more
mm,
data, they bring more objectivity, and
mm,
project management, our project manager also, they have their own skills and abilities, and together they contribute to, identifying the stakeholders. And we say stakeholder engagement, not stakeholder management, because
mm,
the aim is to
mm,
engage them, not to manage them or to control them.
mm,
How you engage them, it should be through communication, it should be
mm,
through how you approach the project, it should be
mm,
through how you carry on your project. So there are many aspects involved. But I would
mm,
say that they should start working together
mm,
from beginning, and they should also contribute together throughout
mm, mm,
the requirements. Also, I heard you speaking about requirements. Business analysis is really, really important as far as defining project requirements is concerned.
mm,
So, and obviously, the project manager could bring also their experience into
mm,
that. So
mm,
it's really a combination of
mm,
the work.
mm.
That's
Awesome,
it.
awesome. I mean, I don't think that could have been better succinctly stated. Thank you so much for that. I think I'm feeling very valuable right now because I think I can wear both
No,
hats.
I
As a
I really
business
have a lot
analyst
of
and as a
questions.
project manager. I feel like going to apply for roles and motivating why I am so valuable because I could wear different hats, but it kind of bring context to what value looks like in this current dispensation. If you're a BA and you can acquire competences as a project manager, you know all the technicalities and the soft skills required for project management. I think easily you will be able to transition into product ownership. You will be able to transition into project management, into product delivery management, and whatever life brings at your table, you're just so ready to embrace new opportunities. I don't think life could be better, than that. We're going to take the last question because we have 4 more minutes. It says, do you see a future where the roles of PM, I think, did we take that, are merged together? Absolutely. If we have to bring PM, I know we've been talking about PM in the context of software development, but we know that project management goes beyond software development.
Yeah,
It's
of
in
course.
construction. We can relate to that. It's in the UNICEF projects, the world development project manager, where they have a basic project and they need someone to manage it. But in the context of software development, do you see a future where maybe because of artificial intelligence, maybe because whatever informs the decision, where a BA is required to absolutely also be a PM, and a PM is required to absolutely be able to function as a BA?
Yeah, I would say it depends again on the project and on the context.
True,
But yeah,
true.
I would say that both skills have to be merged, like
Mm,
in what we call like modern project management, I would say. You
mm,
need to, yeah, you need to go beyond your, let's say, basic skills of PM or BA. You need to
mm,
explore. You have, otherwise, yeah, this is how it is. This is how
mm,
things are moving. This is how businesses are moving now. People are
mm.
not working anymore in silos, or if they are,
Silence.
for me, they are wrong, to be
Mm,
honest. That's my
mm, mm,
opinion.
mm,
I keep fighting for that, to be honest,
mm,
in the different missions that I'm working on. But
mm,
yeah, it's very, very important to explore other opportunities and to have perspective. So you should always think of, expanding your skills. You should always think
mm.
of exploring other aspects of whether project
Mm.
management or business analysis.
Or
So
business
the way I
analyst.
see it is that they go together. That's it,
Mm,
basically.
mm. Awesome, awesome. I mean, I think for everyone who is on the call tonight, maybe this is your cue to go and get certified as a certified, business analyst practitioner. And maybe next year's goal is to get certified as a PMI. And then you can rule your world, you can function, wear different hats as much as you can. But this was a very exciting topic. It's so beautiful to see that, there are different transitioning for business analyst and also for a project manager, that also you can fit into different dimension. You can identify the gaps and you can aim to develop yourself and acquire the competences that you need to be able to function in the future world where the both roles might be merged to deliver value. This has been very insightful. I mean, I don't know if there's any other question. Anyone else has an aching question on the call or contribution before we bring the session to an end? You're muted, Liana. We can see your.
Oops. I think I better keep quiet. Now, my question will result in another hour of discussion. So
Hmm.
we'll keep it when I see Amin next.
Please throw it. We might not answer it, but throw it on. Maybe it could inform a line of thought that we take over
Yeah,
in
yeah,
coffee
yeah.
conversations.
I'm of
Please.
the same. Go ahead.
No, I'm keeping quiet. No, I'm not sharing. Keep it as a
Okay.
Okay.
surprise.
Okay. All right, all right. Oh, thank you so much. It's been a beautiful session. I mean, I find your approach very relatable, and you're such an easy teacher. Everything just works together perfectly, a perfect fusion of knowledge, of the volume, your vocals, your energy, everything is just well synchronized and well presented. Thank you so much, Lihanna, for bringing in Hamin. It's been awesome. And thank you everyone for coming, taking your evening after a long day of work to come and learn. I hope that this, kind of sharpens your understanding of where the future is going, where value is, how we can work together with PM, and in working together, how we can learn from them and evolve to be the, next generation of BA practitioner who are not just writing requirements, but is able to manage the project vision and deliver value beyond requirement in a project context. Thank you once again, everyone. Please look forward to our next session, tools and techniques session. And we appreciate you for your time. Have a great evening and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Th-
Namtazo. Thank
Thanks,
you for the great
Amin.
question. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, everyone. It was a great pleasure.